The challenge arrives. The Titan Empire ruled half the galaxy. For 2,000 years, their massive fleets had conquered every civilization they encountered. Their technology was legendary. Their military was unstoppable. Their empire stretched. Across 10,000 star systems, Emperor Cain sat on his throne of crystallized starlight, reviewing reports from his latest conquest. The Vortex Collective had fallen in just 3 days. Another species added to the Empire's vast collection of servant races. Your Majesty, Grand Admiral Rex approached with careful steps. We have completed our survey of the remaining unconquered systems. Only one significant civilization remains independent. Show me. The throne room's massive display activated, showing a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. The species calls itself humanity, and their world Earth. They have established colonies in 14 systems, but remain technologically primitive. Emperor Cain studied the data. How primitive? They still use chemical rockets for basic transportation. Their fastest ships require months to travel between their own colonies. Their weapons are crude projectile and energy systems. A single Titan battle group could conquer their entire species in hours. Then why are we discussing them? Send a conquest fleet. Admiral Rex hesitated. Your Majesty, there is something unusual about these humans. Our intelligence networks have been monitoring them for 50 years, but they seem unconcerned about galactic politics. Unconcerned? They know about the Titan Empire. They know we've conquered thousands of species. They know we're the dominant power in this galaxy. But they show no fear, no preparation for invasion, no attempt to negotiate or surrender. Emperor Cain laughed. Perhaps they are simply too primitive to understand the threat. Very well. Send them the standard ultimatum. Give them the opportunity to surrender before we destroy them. On Earth, President Wilson sat in the White House Situation Room with his senior advisors. The alien message had arrived that morning, broadcast simultaneously to every major government on the planet. The holographic image of Emperor Cain filled the room. His towering form was covered in ceremonial armor that gleamed with the light of conquered stars. Behind him stood the flags of 10,000 defeated civilizations. People of Earth, the Emperor's voice boomed. I am Cain, ruler of the Titan Empire. We have conquered half this galaxy. We offer you one chance to surrender peacefully and join our empire as a servant species. You have 30 days to transmit your complete surrender, or we will arrive with our full military might and take your world by force. The message ended, leaving the room in silence. Secretary of Defense Clark was the first to speak. Mr. President, our intelligence estimates suggest the Titan Empire has approximately 50 million warships. They've destroyed civilizations far more advanced than anything we've encountered. What are our options? President Wilson asked. General Hayes pulled up Earth's military assessment. Honestly, sir, if these numbers are accurate, conventional resistance would be suicide. We have maybe 1,000 combat-capable vessels, and our most advanced weapons couldn't scratch their shield technology. Director Ross from the Space Defense Agency leaned forward. Mr. President, there is something these aliens don't know about humanity. What's that? We've been watching them for 50 years. We know everything about their technology, their tactics, their weaknesses. And we've been preparing. President Wilson raised an eyebrow. Preparing how? Ross activated a classified display that showed Earth's true military capabilities. Hidden bases throughout the solar system. Advanced weapons that existed only in the deepest black projects. Technologies that made the Titan Empire's vaunted fleet look like toys. Sir, humanity has a saying, the best defense is letting your enemy think you're defenseless. We've spent 5 decades appearing primitive while building the most advanced military force this galaxy has ever seen. You're telling me we can actually fight the Titan Empire? Fight them? Ross smiled. Mr. President, we can end them. General Hayes looked at the classified data in amazement. How long have these projects been running? Since first contact. With alien civilizations in 1975, we realized early that appearing weak would be our greatest advantage. While other species flaunted their power and attracted the Empire's attention, we stayed quiet and prepared. President Wilson studied the information. What do you recommend? Sir, I recommend we respond to Emperor Kane's ultimatum. Exactly the way humanity always responds to bullies who threaten innocent people. Which is? Director Ross's smile grew wider. We laugh at them. Then we show them why laughing was a mistake. In space, Titan Empire scout ships monitored Earth's communications. Networks, waiting for the desperate surrender they expected. Instead, they detected something else entirely: laughter. From every major population center on Earth, humans were laughing at Emperor Kane's ultimatum. The scouts reported this strange behavior to their commanders, who reported it to Admiral Rex, who reported it to Emperor Kane himself. They're laughing? The Emperor asked in disbelief. Yes, Your Majesty. Their entertainment networks are filled with jokes about our ultimatum. They seemed to find our threat amusing. Emperor Kane's rage filled the throne room. Amusing? A primitive species finds the Titan Empire amusing? Shall the first prepare the invasion fleet, Your Majesty? Yes, but make it the largest force we've ever assembled. I want these laughing humans to understand their mistake before they die. What Emperor Kane didn't realize was that humanity's laughter wasn't born of ignorance, that it was born of confidence. The Empire's preparations, Emperor. Kane stood before the largest military gathering in Titan Empire history. In the throne room's vast space, holograms showed 10,000 star systems preparing for war. This would be the Empire's greatest conquest. Grand Admiral Rex, Kane commanded, deploy the full Imperial fleet. I want every available warship converging on the human system. Rex reviewed the deployment orders with growing amazement. Your Majesty, that's 50 million warships. We've never deployed the entire fleet against a single target. These humans have insulted the Empire by laughing at our power. They will learn that the Titan Empire is not a joke. Across the Empire's vast territory, massive fleets began moving toward Earth. Battle cruisers the size of cities. Carrier ships that housed entire armies. Dreadnoughts that could crack planets with their main guns. The combined firepower could destroy solar systems. Admiral Rex coordinated the largest military operation in galactic history from his flagship, the Titan's Wrath. Around him, tactical officers managed a fleet so vast it took hours just to count. All the ships. Admiral, Captain Brooks reported, all sector fleets have acknowledged deployment orders. Estimated time to Earth system, 47 days. What's our intelligence on human preparations? Sir, that's what's strange. Earth shows no signs of military mobilization. No evacuation of civilian populations. No construction of defensive installations. They're acting as if we don't exist. Rex frowned. In his 2 centuries of military service, he'd never encountered a species that ignored an approaching invasion. Every civilization showed fear when facing the Empire's might. Some surrendered immediately. Others fought desperately. But none simply ignored the threat. Are they perhaps too primitive to detect our fleet movements? Sir, our intelligence confirms. They have basic space monitoring capabilities. They know we're coming. Then why aren't they preparing? Captain Brooks hesitated. Sir, our monitoring of their communication networks suggests they're still laughing. On Earth, the situation was indeed unusual. Rather than preparing for invasion, humanity seemed to be treating the approaching alien fleet as entertainment. President Wilson watched the news coverage from the Oval Office. Talk show hosts made jokes about alien fashion. Comedy programs mocked. Emperor Kane's dramatic speeches. Social media was filled with memes about the big scary empire that needed 50 million ships to conquer one small planet. Mr. President, General Hayes entered with the latest intelligence reports. The alien fleet is massive beyond anything we've ever seen. Every military vessel in their empire is heading toward Earth. That's actually perfect, Wilson replied. Perfect. Sir? Director Ross joined the conversation with a tablet showing real-time tracking data. General, what's the first rule of warfare? Know your enemy? Close. Never let your enemy know your true strength until it's too late for them to retreat. Ross showed them the tracking data. Emperor Kane just made the biggest strategic mistake in galactic history. How so? He's bringing his entire military force to one location. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon system the Titan Empire possesses will be in our solar system in 47 days. President Wilson understood immediately, which means the rest of their territory will be completely defenseless. Exactly. While they're here trying to conquer Earth, humanity will be conquering their empire. General Hayes looked confused. Sir, how are we going to conquer 10,000 star systems? We don't have the ships or the manpower. Director Ross smiled. General, would you like to see what humanity has really been building for the past 50 years? He activated a holographic display that filled the room. Instead of showing Earth, it showed the entire galaxy. Red dots marked Titan Empire territories. Blue dots marked human positions. General, every red dot you see represents a Titan system. Every blue dot represents a human deep cover operation. Hayes stared at the display in shock. There were blue dots everywhere, thousands of them scattered throughout Titan space. What kind of operations? Sleeper agents who've been infiltrating their society for decades. Hidden bases built inside asteroids and moons. Automated weapon platforms disguised as space debris. And most importantly, human citizens living normal lives in Titan cities, waiting for the signal. You're telling me we've been secretly colonizing the Titan Empire? Not colonizing, General. Preparing. When Kane's fleet arrives at Earth, they'll find a very different kind of war than they expect. And while they're discovering that humans aren't as helpless as we appear, their entire empire will be discovering that we're already living among them. President Wilson studied the galactic map. How many humans are currently in Titan space? Approximately 2 billion, sir. Some are deep cover agents, but most are just ordinary people who emigrated to Titan worlds over the past 50 years. The Empire welcomed human refugees and immigrants because they thought we were a primitive, harmless species. And now? Now we have 2 billion humans with complete knowledge of Titan infrastructure, military installations, and government systems, all of them ready to activate when we give the word. Emperor Kane's fleet continued its inexorable approach to Earth, believing they were about to conquer a primitive world. What they didn't realize was that the war had already begun. And humanity was already winning at the moment of truth. Titan Empire's full fleet arrived at Earth's solar system like a metallic storm cloud that blotted out the stars. 50 million warships arranged in perfect formation, stretching from Mercury's orbit to beyond Pluto. It was the most overwhelming display of military power the galaxy had ever witnessed. Emperor Kane stood on the bridge of his flagship, gazing at the small blue planet that had dared to laugh at his empire. Around Earth, he saw exactly what his intelligence had predicted. No defensive fleets, no orbital fortifications, no signs of military preparation. Grand Admiral Rex, Kane commanded, scan the planet. I want to know why these humans showed no fear. Rex reviewed the sensor readings with growing confusion. Your Majesty, Earth's surface shows normal civilian activity. Cities are functioning. Normally, transportation systems are operating. There's no sign of panic or military mobilization. Are they perhaps too primitive to understand what's happening? Sir, we're detecting radio and television broadcasts from the planet's surface. The humans are. They're still laughing. Emperor Kane's rage boiled over. Show me. The main screen displayed Earth's news broadcasts. Human reporters were conducting interviews with military experts who explained, with barely concealed amusement, why the alien invasion was doomed to failure. The Titan Empire believes 50 million ships makes them powerful, one expert said with a grin. But they've never faced an opponent who spent 50 years learning everything about them while appearing completely harmless. Kane watched in growing disbelief as humans on television discussed his empire like it was an amusing curiosity rather than the most feared military force in the galaxy. Prepare the planet crackers, he ordered. I will show these laughing monkeys the price of insulting. The Titan Empire. Your Majesty. Admiral Rex hesitated. Perhaps we should demand surrender one more time. The destruction of an entire species. They laughed at us, Admiral. They will learn that laughter dies with them. But before Kane could give the final attack order, something impossible happened. Every screen on every Titan ship simultaneously activated, showing the same image. A middle-aged human woman sitting at a simple desk, smiling pleasantly. Greetings, Emperor Kane, Director Ross said from Earth's Deep Operations Center. My name is Director Ross, and I represent humanity's actual government. Not the public one you've been monitoring, but the one that's been preparing for this. Meeting for 50 years. Kane stared at the screen. How are you broadcasting to my fleet? Our communications are encrypted with quantum security. Emperor, we've been living in your empire for 5 decades. We know everything about your technology, because we helped develop half of it. Some of your best scientists and engineers over the past 50 years have been human. Admiral Rex checked his communications board frantically. Sir, she's not just broadcasting to us. This signal is being transmitted to every Titan world simultaneously. Ross continued calmly. Kane, you made a critical error. You brought your entire military force to attack Earth. That means the rest of your empire is currently defenseless. Impossible. We left garrison forces on all our worlds. Yes, you did. But you didn't realize that many of those garrison forces include human soldiers, human officers, and human commanders who've been serving in your military for decades. They've been waiting for today. On the bridge of the flagship, alarms began. Sounding. Communications officers received reports from across the Titan Empire that made no sense. Sir, Captain Brooks reported in shock. We're receiving surrender messages from our own worlds. Titan colonies throughout the Empire are reporting that their defense forces have been neutralized. What do you mean, neutralized? Sir, it appears that human operatives embedded within our military have taken control of major installations throughout the Empire. They're demanding complete Titan withdrawal from occupied territories. Emperor Kane felt the first cold touch of fear. How many worlds? Sir, all of them. Every major Titan installation has been compromised simultaneously. Director Ross's voice continued from the speakers. Emperor, while you were preparing to conquer Earth with 50 million ships, humanity was conquering your empire with 2 billion people you never suspected were working against you. Kane realized the true scope of humanity's deception. 50 years, while the Titan Empire had dismissed humans as primitive and harmless, they had been infiltrating every level of Titan society. Human immigrants had become scientists, soldiers, administrators, and engineers throughout the Empire. What do you want? Kane asked, his voice barely steady. Simple. Complete withdrawal from all occupied territories. Dissolution of the Titan Empire, and reparations for every species you've conquered over the past 2,000 years. And if we refuse? Ross's smile widened. Emperor, you're 50 light years from the nearest Titan world, surrounded by 50 million ships that are now completely cut off from fuel, supplies, and reinforcements. Your empire no longer exists. Your choice is between peaceful surrender and slow starvation in the cold void of space. Kane looked around his bridge at officers who were receiving reports of total strategic collapse throughout their territory. In a single coordinated moment, humanity had destroyed the greatest empire in galactic history without firing a shot. How? He whispered. We learned from every species you conquered, Emperor. The secret isn't having the biggest fleet. It's making sure your enemy never realizes they're already defeated until it's too late to fight back. The laughter from Earth suddenly made perfect sense. The Empire falls. Within 6 hours of Director Ross's broadcast, a Titan Empire ceased to exist. Emperor Kane sat in his command chair, watching reports flood in from across his former territory. Every major military installation had been seized by human operatives. Every government center was under the control of civilians who had suddenly revealed themselves as highly trained soldiers. Every supply depot, shipyard, and communication relay was broadcasting humanity's terms for surrender. Status report, Kane demanded weakly. Admiral Rex read from his datapad with a voice full of disbelief. Your Majesty, we've lost contact with 9,847 star systems. The remaining systems are reporting complete infrastructure failure. Our supply lines are cut. Our reinforcement schedules are destroyed. Our command structure has collapsed. How is this possible? Captain Brooks provided the answer that Kane dreaded. Sir, according to our personnel records, approximately 30% of our military and government positions have been filled by humans over the past 50 years. We welcomed them because we thought they were a primitive species seeking our protection. Kane remembered the immigration policies he had personally approved. Humans had seemed so harmless, so eager to learn from the superior Titan civilization. They had integrated seamlessly into imperial society, becoming model citizens and dedicated employees. He had never suspected they were all spies. On Earth, Director Ross coordinated the largest intelligence operation in galactic history from her command center. Around her, thousands of analysts managed communications with human agents across 10,000 star systems. Status report from all sectors, she requested. Sector Alpha reports complete success. All major Titan installations secured with minimal resistance. Sector Beta confirms infrastructure takeover. Government centers are broadcasting surrender terms. Sector Gamma reports supply chain disruption complete. No Titan military units can be resupplied. One by one, every sector of the former Titan Empire reported the same result. Total, coordinated collapse orchestrated by humans who had spent decades earning their enemies' trust. President Wilson joined Ross in the command center. Director, what's the casualty count? Remarkably low, sir. Most Titan personnel surrendered immediately when they realized the scope of the operation. Our people were trained to minimize violence wherever possible. And Emperor Kane's fleet? Ross gestured to the tactical display showing the 50 million alien ships surrounding Earth. They're trapped, sir. No fuel, no supplies, no communication with their empire. They can either surrender peacefully or wait for their life support systems to fail. How long before they have to make a decision? Their ships can sustain crews for approximately 3 weeks without resupply. But they're starting to understand their situation. Indeed, aboard the Titan flagship, the reality of their predicament was becoming clear. Emperor Kane faced a choice no Titan ruler had ever confronted: complete surrender to a species they had intended to conquer. Admiral Rex approached the command chair carefully. Your Majesty, we're receiving formal surrender terms from the human government. Read them. Complete withdrawal from all occupied territories. Dissolution of the Titan military structure. War crimes trials for senior leadership involved in genocidal conquest. Reparations for all conquered species. and permanent human oversight of former Titan worlds to prevent future Imperial expansion. Kane laughed bitterly. They want to put us on trial for war crimes? We were building an empire. Conquest is the natural order of the galaxy. Sir, Captain Brooks interrupted, we're also receiving personal messages from human agents throughout. Our fleet. What kind of messages? Requests for peaceful surrender, sir. It appears we have several thousand human operatives serving aboard our own ships. Emperor Kane stared at his bridge crew with new suspicion. For 50 years, humans had been infiltrating every level of Titan society. How many of his own officers were actually enemy agents? As if reading his thoughts, his chief tactical officer stood and removed her Titan military insignia. Commander Lisa Hayes revealed herself as a human operative who had spent 15 years serving on the Imperial flagship. Your Majesty, she said calmly, I've been monitoring your ship's critical systems for over a decade. Your weapons, shields, life support, and navigation are all under human control. This fleet surrendered before the battle began. Kane realized that humanity's deception was complete. They hadn't just infiltrated his empire, they had infiltrated his personal command staff. The war had been over for years. He just hadn't known it. Director Ross's voice filled the bridge speakers. Emperor Kane, this is your final opportunity. For peaceful surrender. You have 1 hour to transmit your complete capitulation and order your fleet to stand down. Kane looked around his bridge at officers he no longer trusted, systems he no longer controlled, and an empire that no longer existed. The species he had intended to conquer in hours had instead conquered his civilization over decades. Admiral Rex, he said quietly, prepare the surrender transmission. Yes, Your Majesty. As the message went out to the 50 million ships of the former Titan fleet, Kane finally understood why humanity had been laughing. They hadn't been mocking the Empire's power. They had been celebrating its downfall. The new galactic order 1 year after the fall of the Titan Empire, the galaxy had transformed completely. President Wilson stood at the podium of the newly constructed Galactic Assembly, addressing representatives from over 500 liberated worlds. The massive station orbited Earth, serving as the headquarters for humanity's new role as galactic peacekeepers. Delegates, Wilson began. 1 year ago, we faced an empire that had enslaved half the known galaxy. Today, we celebrate the freedom of every species that was once under Titan rule. The assembly hall erupted in applause from dozens of different species. Beings who had lived under imperial oppression for generations now governed their own worlds again, thanks to humanity's 50-year plan. In the crowd, former Emperor Kane sat in simple civilian clothes, serving as a historical advisor to the new galactic government. The war crimes trials had been surprisingly merciful. Most Titan leaders were sentenced to community service, helping rebuild the worlds they had conquered. Director Ross approached the podium to deliver her annual intelligence report. Mr. President, the rehabilitation programs are showing excellent results. Former Titan military personnel are now serving as peacekeeping forces under human supervision. Their knowledge of galactic politics, combined with human strategic thinking, has prevented 17 potential conflicts this year. What about the integration programs? Sir, the cultural exchange initiatives have exceeded all expectations. We now have human representatives living peacefully on 4,847 worlds, while over 50 million non-human citizens have chosen to make Earth their permanent home. The transformation had been remarkable. Instead of ruling through fear like the Titan Empire, humanity governed through cooperation and mutual benefit. Former enemies became allies. Conquered species became partners. The galaxy's greatest military threat had become its greatest source of peace and prosperity. Admiral Rex, now serving as Director of Galactic Security under human authority, provided the military status report. Mr. President, we've successfully converted 90% of former Titan warships into exploration vessels, cargo haulers, and emergency response units. The remaining ships serve as the foundation for our new peacekeeping fleet. Any remaining security threats, 3 minor conflicts in the Outer Rim territories, all being resolved through diplomatic means. The galaxy has never been more stable. What Rex didn't mention, and what most species still didn't know, was the true extent of humanity's current capabilities. The operation against the Titan Empire had been just the beginning. Human agents were now active throughout the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as protectors ensuring that no future empire could threaten galactic peace. President Wilson concluded his address to the Assembly. Fellow citizens of the galaxy, humanity's greatest strength has never been our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to turn enemies into friends, to find peaceful solutions to impossible problems, and to help others discover their own potential for greatness. After the Assembly, Wilson met privately with Director Ross and the senior staff. In Earth's Strategic Planning Center, Director, what's our long-term assessment? Ross activated a holographic display showing the entire galaxy. Green zones marked peaceful, stable regions. Yellow zones indicated areas requiring monitoring. Red zones showed potential trouble spots. Sir, we've achieved our primary objective. The galaxy is free from imperial oppression. Trade is flowing freely between species. Scientific cooperation has increased by 300%. And most importantly, we've prevented any single species from accumulating enough power to threaten others. What about future challenges? We've identified 3 potential issues. First, some species are becoming too dependent on human protection. We need to help them develop their own defensive capabilities. Second, there are signs that a few worlds are trying to form new imperial alliances. Third, our deep space monitoring. Stations have detected signals from outside our galaxy. Wilson studied the display carefully. Signals from where? Unknown, sir. But they suggest that our galaxy isn't the only one with intelligent life. And based on the signal strength, whatevers. Out there is much larger than anything we've encountered. General Hayes leaned forward. Sir, are we looking at a potential external threat? Director Ross smiled. General, do you remember what happened the last time someone underestimated humanity? The room filled with quiet laughter as they remembered. Emperor Kane's 50 million ships and how quickly they had surrendered. So what's our plan? Wilson asked. The same plan we've always had, sir. Appear harmless while preparing for anything. Make friends wherever possible. Learn everything about potential enemies. And if someone does decide to threaten the peace, we've built. She gestured to the galactic display, showing thousands of worlds now protected by human oversight. Well, they'll discover that the galaxy has learned some new tricks from humanity. We've taught every species the value of cooperation, strategic planning, and long-term thinking. Any future aggressor won't just face Earth's military. They'll face a galactic alliance that thinks like humans. President Wilson nodded with satisfaction. The laughter that had once confused Emperor Kane now echoed throughout the galaxy. Not the laughter of mockery, but the laughter of beings who had learned that the greatest power wasn't conquest. It was making sure conquest became impossible. The galaxy was finally safe, and humanity was just getting started with the next phase of their plan.